Socialization starts from the cradle to the casket. It's a long life process. It starts from the day an individual is born to the end of life. In every society in the world, there are 6 main agents of socialization, which include the family, religion, mass media, peer groups, polity, and education. And we want to find out which of these agents of socialization will be more effective in socializing American youth today in order to embrace the American cultural heritage to move American civilization forward. Therefore, when we look at the United States of America today, the family in the inner cities and some other areas is becoming weaker in socializing the youth. It's becoming a broken agent of socialization in socializing the youth, especially when the youth reaches the age of 7 and above. When you look at LGBTQ families, the single-parental home families, the 2-parental home families, and the foster homes, each one is confused about what kind of values that the children should embrace in order to survive in today's America. Sometimes it is due to environmental factors. Because of this, when you look at some families, there are alcoholic family, abusive family, and drug use all over is leading to unconventional behaviors in some of these homes. Because of this, it makes it harder for the children of such homes to embrace the rich culture of the United States of America. Sometimes in some homes, we have children raising children. Children between the ages of 12 to 17 often have babies. And the parents of such children are in their 30s, so the grandmothers are in their 30s, while the children are still children and still raising children. It makes it harder for such families to raise such children to be more unique as needed in a society. Also, during economic downturns, during recessions, it becomes more difficult for some families to cope with and often leads to bad parenting. As a result, it leads to these youth committing crimes all over in the country. And also, in some families, smoking has become a culture. Smoking culture is a problem. What are they smoking? Smoking marijuana. When you ask some of these boys who have been smoking, that what time did you start smoking? They may say, at the age of 8 or 9 or 10. Why do you smoke? Some may say, my parents smoke, my mama smoked, my daddy smoked, my auntie smoked, my uncle smoked. So this smoking culture is damaging the youth of America today, particularly in the inner cities of America. Also in some homes, in some communities, firearms usage has become a problem, creating violence in such communities. And children who are raised in such communities often embrace the same idea of firearms, that children are holding guns all over in the country, which is very, very difficult for these children to behave very, very well in the society. Also, there are some children in gang activities. Those kind of homes with gang activities, it is always difficult to raise these children not to be deviants. And also, in some homes, the language use. Language is quintessential, but the language in some of these homes seems to be more damaging to the youth. So today's family in the United States of America is becoming more difficult for the family to raise these children, to embrace the rich culture of the United States of America. So upon these problems faced by the family, which of the socialization agents will be more effective to assist the family in raising the children? We shall say religion. Religion is a perfect arena for raising the children of today. There's no mistake about it. But religion today also has its specific problems. Religion is in a confused stage. Why? Because some of these religious institutions have not been able to settle their sexual gratification differentials and the kind of model they value. Some are homosexuals, some are pedophiles, some are polygamists. So with this confused stage of religion, not able to determine what model sexually to be accepted, is so confusing. And so the children of today sometimes do not trust their spiritual leaders. Also, in religion, there is a lot of hypocrisy among the leaders of these religious organizations. This hypocrisy, they say one thing and do something different. And as a result, the hypocrisy associated with sexual aspect, that they do not know what value they have to follow, such hypocrisy have actually wrested the potency of religion to socialize the children of today. Because most of the youth do not trust their religious leaders. But despite that, religion is still one of the best ways in which children can be raised very well into the cultural norms of the society. However, in today's world, religious leaders sit in the pulpit and preach to their members. They hardly go out to evangelize. But evangelization is very, very important. In the 17th and 18th century, if there is a moral downturn in the society in the United States of America, pastors go out and preach to the people. But today it is not like that. They are in their churches preaching only to their members. But what about those? Those who are rotting in the society, they need the message more. And how will they get the message? There is a saying, if the mountain is not coming to Muhammad, Muhammad has to go to the mountain. So, these pastors must prepare to go to the communities and preach. However, the communities are bad these days. Sometimes the kind of drug usage, the kind of firearms, it is difficult. But that is the work Christ has given to these leaders to do. So, in today's world, religion is also having it difficult to socialize the youth into unique cultural heritage of the United States of America. Also, we love prosperity preachers. A lot of them preach good, and they are willing to go out sometimes and preach. However, when they go out to preach in stadiums, they have to charge a fee. So these people who are rotten are not prepared to pay any fee to go and listen to such preaching. So eventually it ends up that only those believers will go and listen to such evangelists. So these evangelists who are supposed to go out and preach to the people are not able to reach the very people who need the message. So religion has its own problem. If religion has this kind of problem, then what socialization agent is needed? In view of this, we will look at the mass media to do the work. The mass media reaches everybody, but the mass media is losing its track in reaching the youth of today. In the mass media, every advertising is enticed with some element of sexuality. And this is affecting the youth of today. There is a whole lot of distractions in the social media. Whole lot of distractions in the traditional media. A whole lot of distractions in the movies. So the mass media is becoming more a problem in raising the children. There are others that are so good, but how many of these kids will tune to those areas? The majority of the mass media in dealing with sexual element to entice people in its advertising is making it difficult for children to be raised well. Then we have to turn to the peer group. The children themselves can raise themselves. But the peer group is where we have all the negativity arising from. The peer group socialization, although it will have been good, but they don't know better. The peer group is where children learn how to smoke, drink, talk about sex. So peer group socialization is more of the negative element. At that point, peer group socialization makes these children more defiant to authorities and therefore become defiant to anything which is good from the dominant culture. They always go against the dominant culture, making it difficult for peer groups to socialize the peers to become good citizens. So what is left? What do we have today in the United States of America that can assure that children are raised right? That can assure that the youth of today will embrace the rich cultural heritage of the United States of America to move American civilization forward. Then we have polity and education. The polity aspect has to push education so that education can do the work. Why is it so? Because education is very crucial. Very, very crucial. And as a result, the output of education can be measured quantitatively and qualitatively. Therefore, education is one aspect of the socialization agent that cannot be left out in socializing the youth to embrace the rich cultural heritage of the United States of America. There is no civilization that has come to this world that if you talk about it, you will not discuss about the intellectual element of that particular society. We talk about Greek society, the Egyptian society, we talk about the Indians, the Chinese, the European civilization, the American civilization. All these civilizations, without education, we are not dealing very effectively of what can actually build up the society. Education is the most important element of all the socialization agent that the polity has to back up in order to raise the case of the United States today to be more effective in embracing the cultural heritage to move American civilization forward. In view of this, when you look at education, when you talk about the Greek society, it is not only talking about Alexander's pillage, Alexander the Great's pillage of empires, without discussing anything about the intellectual part of the Greek society. Oftentimes we hear names like Plato, Aristotle, just to mention a few. These intellectuals has kept the Greek society or the Greek civilization so impact to the extent that today we talk about Greek without its educational aspect. There's nothing more than its educational aspect. The intellectualism of the Greeks is what makes the Greek society great. Therefore, when it comes to education, Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th President of the United States of America, under the federal system of government, have this to say about education. To him, education will not cure all the problems of the society, but without it, no cure for any problem is possible. There is no cure of any problem possible in a society without education. And that's what Lyndon B. Johnson observed. To him also, education is the key to opportunities in the society. And as a result, the equality of educational opportunities must be the birthright of every citizen in the society. Every citizen in the society, education opportunity must be your birthright. If it is so, why is it that some people may say, school is not for everybody? Education is not for everybody. You are wrong. Education is for everybody. Because according to Lyndon B. Johnson, education opportunity is the birthright of every citizen. He therefore concluded that there is a third place to build the great society of America. And that third place to build the great society of America can be found in the classrooms of America. To him, there, your children lives will be shaped, which means our children's lives will be shaped in the classrooms of America, according to Lyndon B. Johnson. Therefore, education is so important to our society's development. Also talking about education, Aristotle also has this to say. He lived in the BCs in the Greek society. And according to him, all men by nature desires knowledge. Everybody desires knowledge. When he says all men, it means everybody desires knowledge. Therefore, education is an ornament in prosperity and a refuge in adversity. So when you are in trouble, education is there as a refuge. All men desires knowledge. Everybody desires knowledge. Therefore, education is there for everybody, and nobody can be left out in education. Therefore, he saw that the educated person is quite different from an uneducated. There is a distinction between the two, as he observed. So he went further, even to praise teachers who teach the youth. So Aristotle, who lived in the BCs, saw the significance of education in raising the youth of the United States of America or every society. So education is very, very important to everyone, according to how Aristotle saw the importance of education. Then let us see, in our own society, in the United States of America today, what some of our presidents have observed about education. The first president of the United States of America, President George Washington, have this to say. To him, the best means of forming a manly, virtuous, and happy people will be found in the right education of the youth. Without this foundation, every other means, in my opinion, must fail. That's what George Washington was telling us. Every other means must fail. So to be a happy people, education is the foundation of American society. When you look at American civilization, education is the foundation to maintain the civilization that we have. Now let us look at some of the important sayings of other presidents. We have President George H.W. Bush. When he was campaigning with Ronald Reagan against President Carter, they did not like Carter setting up education department as an entity on its own. But guess what? When they won the election, They saw the significance of education and never tried any means to destroy it. And because of that, President H.W. Bush have this to say: think about every problem, every challenges we face. The solution to each comes from education. So the solution to each starts with education, means that whatever problem or whatever challenges we face, it starts from education. The solution starts from education. That's what President George H.W. Bush observed. And that was an excellent quotation of him. If he has ruled for about 8 years, we will have seen more of him in terms of education in America. Then also, President John Adams, the second president of the United States of America, have this to say about education. There are two educations, according to him. One should teach us how to make a living, and the other how to live. What does that mean? Which means America's dream, the dreams of America, to everyone with education to teach us, to gain the knowledge, to gain the skills that we need to improve our lives. The skill that we need to give us the financial independence is great. But the second part is education should also teach us how to live. To live is the relationship that we have in our communities, in our families, everywhere we are, how we live among each other. Education is the most significant aspect to teach us how to live with each other. How to live with each other is so important, equally to the skills that we gain from education. And that is one of the most important aspects of education. And as a result, Horace Marx, the architect of American public school, also said this: a human being is not attaining his full height until he is educated. Until he is what? Educated. So education is one agent of socialization that today will help the youth of the United States of America to embrace the rich culture of the society, to ensure American civilization to move forward. How are we doing about education? Are our leaders contributing much to education? Because of all the agents of socialization, education is the only one that stands out unique to socialize the youth of the United States of America today.